In 5, 4, 3, 2. Wait for it to hit. First Speaker Podcast here with Cal Nash, Big Jim, James Nies. It's been a little while. Well, what, 2 months since last podcast? About?
I've lost all track of time.
What is today, Jim?
I know it's Tuesday because I watched Raw last night. That's
You got NXT on the background?
No, I'm DVRing it. I'm downstairs. I don't have a TV downstairs. Well,
you're still a DVR guy.
TVs, but yeah. I DVR it, but sometimes I'll watch it on DVR. Sometimes I'll watch it on Hulu the next morning.
Oh, Kyle, what's up? Hair day, good hair day today, buddy.
What? Yeah,
your one bang.
You can't stop talking about my hair, and then it dawned on me I was too lazy to get back up and pick up my damn hat. Listen.
Why do you think you never see me without a hat on?
Listen, fellas.
Wait, are you bald, Jim? You're bald, right?
Pretty much. I mean,
but on purpose, right? That's like by design, right?
I mean, it's.
Oh, you got the LeBron thing going back there.
I was going to make the LeBron joke if you didn't. Yeah,
a friend of mine who I hadn't golfed because I hadn't golfed with in a while. I had placed my hat because we were ball searching, and I dropped my hat on the ground, and he saw my head, and he goes, "Wow, that thing is really running away from your face, isn't it?" And I said, "Well," I was like, "Well, have you seen my face? I would run away from it as well."
That's a good comeback.
Did you punch him after?
No, God, no.
Hey, listen, I can understand why. It's funny. He's the one that dunked on you, and you're the one that looks like LeBron. It's very interesting.
Honestly, I'm to the point where I wish I could shave my head. I could bick my hair, and it just would never grow back. It's to the point now where it's just more of a nuisance that I have to buzz it, every couple of weeks or whatever.
I feel
like just let me cut it off and let me be done with it. I'm fine. I have a good head for bald. Let it be.
I feel your pain. No way that can be done, really. You have to shave it off pretty much every 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, my dad made that a ritual. And he had and I don't know how the hell he did this, by the way, but he had those cheap, shitty Bics and would just fire away on it. I'm like, bruh.
I would destroy myself if I tried that. I've always been lucky enough that I've had a job where I've been able to wear a hat all the time. Now coming into wherever employment I end up with now, I don't know. Hopefully that'll still be the case. Otherwise, I'll have to work head buzzing into a new routine.
Routine being the operative word, because I guess I understand. I've been shaving my head ever since I was like a teenager, and even like in my mid-20s, I've been doing it just because I wanted to, and I always had hair that grew back. During the pandemic, though, I did a experiment. So you just grow this thing out, so much hair I have left, whatever, and it was a mess, dude. It was a mess.
I had always had a crew cut, and then when I was in college, I grew my hair out for like 2.5 years and donated it. And ever since I cut it off after I donated, it was like, all right, we had our run, we're leaving.
We did our good deed for the life.
Right, exactly. It's just been gone ever since.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll say to you what I say to Danny Thompson all the time, man. Listen, you might call me the ugliest bastard on the planet, and maybe you're right, but thanks to my mom and even going back to my grandma, who had hair this brown in her 70s, I am not lying. Even after she went bald after leukemia, it was coming in this color, okay? My hair is gorgeous, and y'all mofos need to get used to that.
Does a wife love it?
I'm not the one that kept talking about it.
Does a wife love putting her fingers through your hair?
It's pretty tall for her to reach, unfortunately. She's only 5'5".
Is she really?
Yeah, probably. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. She'll get mad at me. 5'6". The hell ever.
Fucking cheater. Is it safe to say the only bit of NFL news we missed in the last time we podcasted, which was in early May, by the way, was the Julio Jones signing Tennessee? Well, not signing, trade at Tennessee, rather.
Well, we touched on it, and cooler heads as me once again prevailed.
We touched on the rumors, but at the time when we did the podcast, he hadn't been traded yet.
Of course not. And at the time, what I had said was nothing's going to happen until after June 1st.
Which, of course, you were right on that.
So these things happen, just like I try to tell people that Stephon Diggs would be the Bills MVP, whatever.
You were on that last year. That was so last year, Kyle. Come on.
Hey, it's not a year until August. So
That's true. That's a good point.
Very accurate.
That's so 2020, Kyle. No,
well, not everybody may have been heard about it because of the lockdown. That's why I got to keep telling people.
That's right. So Julio in Tennessee, like,
yes,
Julio's still really good. He's still a top 10 guy at his position when healthy. Maybe in top 5, I will say. Does this change any dynamics in the AFC in terms of Tennessee and their placement among the best in the conference? I mean, they were the AFC title game 2 years ago. They were a playoff team last year. Obviously, look at KC, look at Buffalo surging. Obviously, there's a couple of teams littered around there. Tennessee's one of those teams and kind of like hanging around that could be much better. Or you see what I don't know. I don't know if this move necessarily puts them like a level closer to KC or not. I don't know.
So, are you still thinking, Jim? Because I can go ahead and break this down. I've been asked this question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Because here's what it is, and I have way more Titans fans than I ever would have expected in the 3-point conversion group chat. Shouts to Cortland and our good friend EJ Christian, Mike Patton, the general, who we all talking about Titans any chance they can. There we go. What was the biggest problem they actually had last year, gentlemen? Was it offense? No. They couldn't get to the passer. Now, I get it. Ngakoue being in places is a very good thing. Okay? That's a very good improvement, and it's something no one's talking about. But when you really break it down, gentlemen, all that happened is the offense got more offensive. And really, the biggest winner is, other than Ryan Tannehill, of course, is Derrick Henry. Other than me just saying it right now, who has actually said his name in reference to a Titans analysis? Which is actually stupid if you really think about that. So at the end of the day, did anybody before they got Julio Jones have anybody other than the Titans winning the AFC South? I see no takers.
Indy's in transition.
The Colts are the question mark.
Right.
The Colts are the question mark. If Carson Wentz can find old Carson and stay healthy, and that offense can develop around him, the defense can continue to progress, I think the Colts are in the chat. But there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions
in the chat.
There's a lot of question marks with that team.
Well, Quentin Nelson has entered the chat. How can you be doubtful of the offense and Carson Wentz coming back? Because when Carson Wentz has
forced himself into the chat,
slide in the DMs, baby.
Ain't nothing. The only thing direct about Quentin Nelson is the way he puts you on your butt. A man that big doing judo, bro. Yeah. Hey, no, there's a reason why I'm massaging your fan base. They'll get plenty of their trash talk when we're talking college football, when they're actually quite comparatively irrelevant. By the way, still congratulations on 4 straight 10-win seasons, but.
That's right.
But
how do we always get this every podcast we do? We slip in Notre Dame in the fucking conversation.
Well, that's what they do. That's the way it goes.
Just like you do with Tom Brady.
That's not, no. That's you now.
What did you say, Patriots fan?
That's you shooting out accusations about Patriots fandom and Birdie love and all that.
You know what accusation has in common with something else? Its first 3 letters. Accurate. Moving on.
Damn. Okay. When you put it that way. Shit. No, I'm with you. I don't think the AFC South was ever in doubt, regardless of Julio Jones' rival in the roster or not. Mm-hmm. Obviously, as Jim stated, the Colts are in the chat if Carson Wentz can be closer to old Carson Wentz. I'm looking at it more as the bigger picture. Remember, this is a team
that was going to be the next part, right?
This team was literally a half from actually going to the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
I want to hear about a half when it comes to freaking, Patrick LeVon Mahomes the second.
Of course, yeah. I'm just saying that
I was half a quarter away from having San Francisco, 6-0 rather. And yeah, hate all you want, bitches. Come up with a better one.
Which one? By the way, Kyle Williams fumble? That's the Giants? Which one are you talking about there?
San Francisco, I mean.
Okay.
Oh, I'm glad you acknowledged the Giants only won that game because Kyle Williams fumbled more balls than you do when you're talking to Tom Brady in person. Anyways, so No one knows the Kyle Williams reference for the most part, probably
This podcast
now.
off the rails already.
But that's still a great jab, and you loved it so much.
Kyle Williams, 2011 NFC title game, Giants, Niners in the rain. Eli Manning gets beat up like so many damn times and still survived.
I guess it has been.
Yeah,
it's been
10 years.
10 years. What? Eli Manning 13 for 21 on third down that game, something like that, too.
Sick, right? Dopey. Anyway, no, I think this move is going to help, obviously. This move makes, as you said, Derrick Henry more dangerous now. I just don't know if this is the move that puts him to the top of the AFC. I'm still going to say no.
Do you pick them over the Chiefs today?
Hell no.
Do you pick them over the Bills today?
That might be more of a contention.
I don't.
I don't either.
Does Josh Allen duplicate what he did last year, this year?
Why? How wouldn't he?
I'm just asking questions, buddy.
Yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't. And I think the Titans, it comes down, obviously Derrick Henry, but if you get into those situations where you're looking at a passing situation in a clutch time, you're still coming down to Tannehill. Now he has kind of broken some of the, Miami stigma, or his time in Miami stigma.
You mean the lack of offensive line that people poorly reported and blamed on him stigma? You're absolutely right, Jim.
Sure. But I'm still not 100% sold that he's totally worth a shit, personally. But
and that's fair. But does he have to be in that offense? Listen,
not necessarily. But
yeah,
you're especially now you're going to run out of excuses if you can't get it done.
Well, no. Well, the excuse wasn't him that year. The excuse was you can't frickin' stop anybody, right? Look, do I have to remind you about what they did against the Steelers to keep them going 11-0, right? All we heard about is the most overhyped, undefeated team of all time. Listen, maybe that was true. Maybe it wasn't, Titans fan. But at the end of the day, your sorry asses let them stay undefeated. Stop talking to me.
Stop talking to me.
I'm too busy jabbing at EJ about his Patriot fanhood,
Guilty. This Cole Beasley thing, anti-vaxxer,
man.
Live your life. Look, I've been, my position on this whole thing. If you want to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you don't get vaccinated, whatever. I can't force you to do it, obviously. Right. But I find there's a lot of irresponsibility from these players who do have a platform just to say things just to say it. I think it's why I'm bothered by.
My biggest issue with like the statement he put out, and there's been a couple of other players who have done something similar, but like like he goes on this platform saying, I'll retire if I have to. What? Who's saying you have to retire? Like, did I miss something?
He's jumping hurdles to protect his argument.
All they're doing is saying, like, look, if you are vaccinated, you can do certain things that unvaccinated players can't do. Like, nobody's saying that you can't play the game. Nobody's saying that you're not going to be allowed to participate in this season. That was never, again, unless I missed something, correct me. But that was never something that was going to happen, right? Like,
no.
So why do you make the leap from, I'm going to live my life and I'm not in fear, whatever, which that's a whole nother can of worms to begin with.
Yeah.
But like, how do you make the leap from the NFL saying, if you're vaccinated, you can do these things, you can socialize with people, you can do this, you don't have to wear a mask, you're not considered close contact if you come in contact trace with somebody, but if you're not vaccinated, these are the rules for you. Like, you want to make your choice. You want to get on your platform and make your choice, and I'm not getting vaccinated, and I'm not afraid, and blah 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 blah. That's fine, but there are consequences, man. And like the NFL and these teams have a certain responsibility to sponsors, to fans, to ownership, etc., and so on. Once that season starts, they need to get it done. So there are going to be different rules for people who, I don't care if this offends anybody, spits in the face of science, just because you feel like your immune system can beat something. That's fine. That's your choice to make.
Right.
But don't be mad when the NFL, who has their own, set of rules, says you can't do certain things.
Not only set of rules, Jim, but set of responsibilities. First of all, yeah, it's interesting that you pick the choice spit in the face of, because that's kind of how you could catch COVID. But, I mean, listen, if he wants to ignore, if he wants to be all miffed about the people clapping back at him that have lost loved ones to COVID, if he wants to complain about the protocols and all this other stuff, if he wants to say whatever he wants to say, of course, I may not agree with what you say, but I'll defend to death your right to say it, right? And thank you for informing me how big how ill-informed you are on the topic. Because here's what I can now account for. A young man I used to talk to, one Gabe Davis, pound for pound, one of the best rookie receivers in the league last year. No, I'm not just saying that because he went to UCF. His average catches per reception, or excuse me, his average yards per reception are among the top in the league, and rival guys that were playing the whole year as number one options. Your Jefferson? Yeah, Jefferson in Minnesota, those kind of cats. But the reason why I mention him specifically is because of the influence he has on younger receivers like that, who, if they catch COVID, could impact their career. Mm-hmm. The instances of long-term effects, obviously, death is a long-term effect, but I'm not even talking about that. I pretty much think, for the most part, that we're at a place where we can at least generally stop people from dying of COVID. I'm not going to say that universally, but that's kind of where the state of the art is at. Or the state of the science, I should say.
And to be clear, too, also, and speaking personally, I mean, I know Jim and I especially had a lot of discussion on this on text, for example, about my own personal, feelings about the vaccine. It wasn't, I had questions. I understand if you have really serious and valid reasons why you don't want to get a shot.
Sure, I have a friend who has allergies, and he was specifically advised not to by medical professionals. I don't think Cole asked his doctor about this. He made a political
statement. That ain't the case. That sounds more political than realized. No, in my case, well, for starters, I hate needles.
As do I.
Guilty as charged. I hate needles.
Insert Tom Brady joke here.
Oh my God.
What I'm talking about, Deflategate, you perv.
Oh, wow. PSI, motherfucker. No.
Dunk.
Don't. No. I had questions. Ultimately, I was always going to do it, but I had questions, and I spoke to people. I have relatives of mine that cousins, for example, are doctors, and they, gain more confidence into doing it. And I was like, okay, well, I'll take your word for it, and I did it. So, if you have legitimate reasons and fears about the vaccine, I get that. But this ain't legitimate. This feels more political than anything else. Without saying it's political.
Take that shit to a doctor first. Can we go on record here on the show?
Yeah.
If you have concerns, go to a doctor. Stop. Right. Listen, the guy on QAnon hasn't been studying epidemiology for years.
And the housewife 2 doors down from you that is reading Pinterest and Facebook all day probably doesn't have a medical degree either.
Exactly. And you know what? And I'm ain't no expert either. I'll say that too.
On Housewives, I'm not covering all my bases. I'm just saying, if I have medical questions, I'm going to go to a medical professional, not some rando on Facebook.
That's what gets me. But somebody has certain friends who won't do the vaccine, they're anti-vaccine, and then when I find out why they are or where they get information from, it's like, wait, really? That? A Facebook post or a Twitter meme? Or so I'm like, no, come on. Anti-science on purpose just to be anti-science is dumb, in my opinion.
Listen, I appreciate that work that goes into a video production of a YouTube video very uniquely, as you gentlemen probably do as well. But I know for damn sure it does not increase your medical knowledge in and of itself.
Right. I'm like a weather nut, but I don't pretend to be a meteorologist,
Well, that's kind of fake science. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But it's and you brought up a great point, Kyle, because you brought up the fact that, like, for the most part, we're at a point where we can prevent severe illness, we can prevent death. In most cases, again, there are going to be outlying situations, as there are with anything. But like I read an article earlier today.
I'll kick.
Stop it.
No. I had enough picture books for the year. But there was an article about how, like, in Springfield, Missouri, like, since June 1st, their COVID hospitalizations are up over 200%.
That's correct. My wife was just telling me about that.
And only 2 people that were admitted to the hospital in the last 3 weeks there were people who were fully vaccinated. It's all unvaccinated people. It's all the new, like, the Delta variant, I think is what it's called now. And, like, it's, again, it's the situation that we saw last spring, last summer, last winter, of ERs being loaded, hospital wards being loaded, and it's like, they're saying that it appears this variant, the vaccines are working against it. So, I'm still cautious about things. Like, I still mask, even though I'm fully vaccinated when I'm in stores or when I'm in like crowded public places. Like, we haven't gone out to restaurants yet, and I will get to that point, I'm sure. But, like, we're still cautious about things, and but I still trust the science. But, like, things aren't lying. You can see the realities of the world, and that's where the NFL steps in and says, vaccinated, unvaccinated, you make your choice. We're not telling you have to do it. We're not telling you not to do it. You get to make your choice, but there are as in any life situation, there are consequences with choices.
Freedom, consequences. It's that simple. So, another big topic in the sports world, football world, that we saw in the last couple of weeks that's gaining more traction. This possibility of college football having a 12-team playoff. I have many opinions on this. I spoke on the last episode about my feeling on the 12-team playoff. I think I'm okay with the 4 right now as it is. I was an anti-BCS guy. I think Kyle and I had a little bit of a debates on that in the past.
And you've been proven wrong several times.
The BCS,
BCS stands for big crock of shit, right?
That's why I call it the BSC and just take out the middle.
BCS almost, in my opinion, BCS almost always got it right. Almost always, except for maybe 2 or 3 times. And look at Kyle's face. He's all mad. Look at him.
Yeah, man. Listen, you sound. Cole Beasley just got more credible than you. Do you understand that?
No. We ain't gonna do that now. Come on now. No. I will say this much though, personally.
The BCS a thing? If you're like, well, 2 or 3 times they didn't get it right.
In my opinion, they're following. I mean, they're following the data. Obviously, I thought the BCS system could work with the playoff though, like determining the playoff teams to some degree.
So,
anyway, the point is,
out the way.
Point is, how do you guys feel about a 12-team playoff? Are you guys okay with that?
I'm gonna just get this out the way.
Okay.
I always said an 18 playoff was the best round for me personally. I thought that was the way to go. And granted, as that turned out, it probably would have still left UCF and Cincinnati out of their potential years where they would have gotten into it. Right. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Notre Dame is the main reason UCF didn't get in 2017, because they weren't going to have two teams outside of the collective get in there. And that's not a shot at Notre Dame at all.
Notre Dame's always the one that's going to get in when they quote unquote don't belong because of money.
Well, let's be honest for just a minute. Notre Dame belonged the year that I'm talking about. Okay?
Well, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the times that Notre Dame in the playoff and even in the BCS in 2012 when they made it to the championship and people said they shouldn't have been there playing Alabama because they
no, you shouldn't have been there playing Alabama. Let's not mince words.
But why,
triple overtime to beat Pitt. That's all I have to tell you.
Is it 2013?
Did Notre Dame win games that season that they shouldn't have? Yes.
That's
I
the
won't
only
deny
reason they
that.
got it's
But
trash.
when you're down at the end of the year and
Stop.
Notre Dame is the only undefeated team standing, you don't not put them in. I'm sorry.
Okay, so then by your argument, UCF and Cincinnati both should have been in championship games already. Listen, you're the one with the LeBron hair, but I just dunked on you. Anyway. So, no, I mean, listen, but quality of competition does matter. And that particular year that I mentioned versus 2017, the quality of competition I felt like for Notre Dame that year was kind of there. Whereas you needed triple overtime to beat Pitt.
Right. And I'm not denying that, that Notre Dame had wins that they shouldn't have had that year.
I mean, there is somebody who we both know who's particularly annoying at arguing that claimed that very year, who I was doing shows with. And listen, if I did any more dunking, I would need no. I am
Throw
not
names out
on this show because if we utter his name, he'll try to get on the show, and I'm not doing.
Okay. I get it now. Yeah.
So no, but like I would need the whole box of cookies for all the.
Wait, what, Jim?
No, I said, why did I just get a text? No.
You're awful. Anyways, so listen, Notre Dame smack aside, the real issue still hasn't been addressed. Okay? The real issue is money. I don't want money's fine. Let money. Hey, money needs to be involved, or else we don't have the effing sport. Can we be clear about that?
Correct.
Okay? This is like people who gripe about fantasy football. This was a video I did in my sports symposium series that you can find on Hilarity by default.
Nice plug.
Money is shameless too, right? Money in and of itself isn't necessarily the problem. It's a factor. I'm not here to call it a problem, okay? Because how else do these athletes get the opportunity to do what they do and get all the free marketing to become NFL players? That all being said, and yes, I'm pro NIL before anybody tries to talk that trash. No one's addressing current and former ADs in the goddamn committee that votes on this thing. And by the way, anybody notice that when Terry Mohajir becomes UCF's AD, he's no longer on the committee anymore?
That's goofy.
Yeah,
but that's the problem, right? The only reason why, no offense, Jim, this isn't about you. You're just a mercenary anyway. This isn't about this is precisely the reason the ACC is even freaking relevant in this stuff. The American Athletic Conference, other than Clemson, could beat literally any other team in the conference. Now, granted, you'll come at me, oh, but what about South Florida? Yeah, they're terrible. They're also not in South Florida. They're so screwed up, they don't know what part of the state they're in. I'm feeling you.
They're not even South Florida. They're fucking Tampa, right?
They are in Tampa, yes.
Yeah, no, it's South Florida.
My brother lives in St. Pete. That's not South Florida.
It is not
exactly.
South Florida.
I'm in South Florida.
Listen, it's one of my favorite press conferences that week. Even though you're slightly inconvenienced by the fact it's a holiday week, when the players are talking cash shit about geography, that's a good time, gentlemen. Listen, I don't mean to do the flex here that I'm at press conferences, but bro, it's funny. Anyways, no, man, listen. Until we address that, college football will not be fixed. Is this better? Sure. These people were trying to say, if these rules were in place back then, Cincinnati and UCF both would have gotten into the playoff. You're trying to tell me the damn committee would have let that happen? Bullshit. Listen, they've already made the mistake of not letting Cincy in. And if they're so sure they're going to blow them out, then blow them the fuck out. But you didn't. And now you have a 12-team playoff. And then you got dumbasses like Booger McFarland. Oh, there's already enough teams. Man, listen. Anyways, by the way, don't get me started with...
Every March, everybody talks about bracketology. And, they turn 64 into 68. And I'm waiting for it to turn into 72. So don't... Now, do I think 12 is a little much? I think they should have went to 8. I've always been a proponent for 8, but 12, I wouldn't go any more than 12.
Right.
But I think 12 is a fine number. And I like, because I think one of the arguments people had before was, well, a 12's never going to beat a 1. Well, I mean, first off, you don't know that. I mean, it's
Correct.
But in the proposed system, 12 would have a chance to beat 5, and then you go from there. So, that's a little bit of a better setup, I think. So you can still earn, quote unquote, earn something by being in the top 4. But yeah, I agree. Like the especially current ADs being on this committee is just a little bit silly to me, because everybody's just arguing for themselves and arguing, it's lobbying for themselves and their conference and this and that, where make it make sense, because that part doesn't.
It's the and their conference part I have a problem with, by the way. Listen, if Clemson's AD is in there and they're advocating for themselves, as much as that sucks, there's enough committee members in there to kind of wash that away. Sure, no problem. But when the floor, I ain't got to describe it. You get the idea. It just makes me want to vomit.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll get 12?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Without a doubt.
And they're saying it could be as early as 2024, I think, right? Because there's an opt out, I think, in this current contract.
Yeah, it's going to be a minute. I've heard things even saying that it could happen as soon as next year. I don't think that's going to occur.
Yeah, that's what I thought I had read on the first proposal. I don't know if something changed with the news that came out yesterday or today or what have you, that it's like taking the next step and they're going to reconvene at later in the summer. But I thought it said it could potentially be as early as next year. Which if everything's on board, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it happened next year, to be honest with you. It's more money to be made.
That's true. No, and like I said, I think 8's a sweet spot. The 5 conference winners, the 3 at-larges, and call it a day. But look, I'm not going to complain if we have more teams, more football for us.
Say it like the kids say, DJ. I ain't mad,
I ain't mad about it.
I think one of my biggest issues with it, and this was always, because when I proposed even moving it from 4 to 8, is I don't, because I know everybody was like, well, the 5 Power 5 conference winners and then 3 at large, and now I guess it's 5 and the rest or what have you.
Because we're supposed to take the Pac-12 seriously, but please continue, Jim.
I don't like the idea of automatic bids for conference champions, and
such as the Pac-12.
Like I know there's only been a few, even if you go back to the BCS bowl system, not just the national championship, but the bowl system as a whole, there was flaws with automatic bids. And I go back to, I think it was 2002's Orange Bowl, when number 23, I think they were, Florida State, got in to play Penn State because they won the ACC championship. To me, that's where
we're back to the ACC, aren't we?
But to me, that's
fucking shit up.
That's where I have a problem, because why should a team, and again, those seasons may be the outlier, but why should a team who is, in every other ranking system, outside the top 20, why should they get into the playoff? To me, it should be, if you're going to go 12, make it your 12 best teams. I don't care who they are. I don't care what conference they play in, etc. Figure out a way to put your 12 best teams in. More times than not, every Power 5 conference champion will be in that 12. Almost every time. But there's probably going to be a season or two where they aren't, and they don't deserve to be. That's always been my issue with the idea of automatic bids. And people always say, oh, you're afraid Notre Dame's going to get bumped out by one. I mean, I'm not, especially in this format, because all you got to do is be one of the, 7 best other teams, which shouldn't be an issue theoretically. But, I've never liked automatic bids, ever. I think it's silly. If you're gonna make it 2 teams, 4 teams, 12 teams, 20 teams, I don't give a shit. There shouldn't be an automatic bid to me.
The reason I agree with you philosophically, Jim, but the reason why you have to do it that way is for the people who don't understand and appreciate that the SEC is the premier entity of college football and should have multiple teams within it. Don't cock your head, FSU fan. Your team sucks, and if you get Mackenzie Milton killed, I'm taking it out of your hide. Okay?
They do suck, though. We know that already.
They didn't always know it.
75 days, EJ. 75 days from today.
Why are you doing this shit?
You spare that man. That is a quality human being. If a man, listen, my heart's gonna be a little bit broke if you hurt that man. I'm just saying, he's a cool guy.
He's good as dead.
You said that just to break my heart, you son.
I mean,
yeah. Did it work?
I mean, Notre Dame's defense is pretty nasty, and they get them first. So
this is good. That O-line has been terrible for a few years, man. Listen.
You just catch COVID the first week and then come back.
Honestly, I mean, we'll see if they even start him too. Like I'll say this, and this might be the first public forum I'll say it, but hopefully UCF fans won't see it. I have never thought his motion's already awkward to throw, but now it's even more so. And it looks like he doesn't have the same zip on his delivery. I'm not here to say he's a bad football player now. I'm here to say I don't know that this is the guy you want starting week 1. I mean, really, if he wanted to play football again that badly, he really should have waited one more year, which, I mean, is easy for me to say with a microphone in my face. I'm not living it. Were I him, I probably would do it exactly the way he's doing it because, damn it, I love playing, But, man, that's a rough go. And with as much as Mackenzie's game depended on mobility, that's going to be problematic.
Get the COVID.
And
let's get the COVID.
Yeah, he says get the COVID to dodge the mercenaries. You notice that, Jim? Next week they'll play like Florida or Samford and win in overtime. And
Samford or some fucking
the shit.
That's all right. I get it.
All right. Last topic. This is a topic that started up through our group text that we always do a couple weeks back. We would talk about sports radio and sports radio hosts. And this came off my whole thing watching Dan Le Batard's freedom, by the way, not dumb, but freedom, DUMB,
right.
Marathon, 24-hour marathon, and he had a bunch of guests. He had Jim Rome on there, and he had all this, and you and I we all got into it, debate about, because obviously you're not a big Le Batard guy, obviously.
Well, let me stop you right there. I like Le Batard in the space he's in now. I don't think he ever should have replaced Colin Cowherd. That was out of position.
Okay, for the record, completely agree with you. As someone who's been a fan of Le Batard from the very beginning.
And I like him. Listen,
remember, he's local here in Florida.
The annoying substitute guest host on PTI, man. Le Batard's great. Go Heat, bitch, and all that. I get you.
Yeah, I actually said that because when they first came to ESPN, they still stayed in that 3 o'clock spot, which is perfect for them. Mm-hmm. And then when Colin Cowherd went to Fox, FS1 that same year in 2015, they moved Le Batard up to the 10 o'clock spot, and I always said it was a wrong move because Le Batard is that 10 a.m. spot really honestly is very corporate. It's very buttoned up. The kind of audience you're getting that time.
Interesting. You're using a phrase that Colin Cowherd employs a lot, but continue.
What we said?
Buttoned up. It's interesting you use a phrase that he. Yeah.
No, that's actually a good point. No, but the kind of show that Le Batard does is better suited for an afternoon drive show.
That's true too. I would even argue, how Rome tried to do I would argue it's a late night kind of format on Showtime. I think that's where Le Batard and Stu Gotts should be.
Well,
I think Le Batard should even have his own band, and somebody's got to play the bongos on that shit. Tell me I'm wrong. It would fit. That's a win. If Emeril Lagasse can have a band, damn it, so could Le Batard.
I used to love listening to late night sports radio.
Oh God, my favorite guy from late night back in the day, growing up as a kid, was Scott Farrell.
Yeah, Farrell was good. I mean, I listened to
his raspy voice.
Oh crap! It was Fox Sports.
So again, what was that?
Rob Dibble and I forget who his co-host was.
Yeah, they're all right. Yeah, I know who you're talking about, Jim.
I enjoyed them. I mean, JT the Brick, I think, used to be on. He's
all right. He's pretty good.
This was 20-year-old Jim, not 35-year-old Jim. So, I back then I loved late night sports talk.
I used to be a sports radio junkie back in the day. Like I went to at 12 years old with Hank Goldberg, and down here in South Florida.
You guys are uniquely qualified to field this question because I think he was taken out of the national syndication and by extension the Orlando market too soon.
Who's this?
How did you guys feel about Jay Moore?
So I didn't listen to his radio show. I like this podcast a lot, actually.
Because his radio show was kind of like Levitard's, except it actually stayed focused on sports.
Right. That's true. No. I didn't get a chance to listen to this radio show back then.
I had a hard time buying into him as a sports talker. Not that he wasn't good.
And so did I.
But it was such a hard buy for me.
I agree. Hey, Jim, I'm there with you. The only reason why I ended up continuing to listen is because the Orlando radio scene is such shit. Okay? The Orlando sports radio scene is awful. Listen, welcome to why I'm so bitter and got into doing this myself. I'm like, if this what the world has to offer, I need to get in, right?
Right.
Excuse me. But and that's, no offense to anyone in particular. I'm not going to name names or nothing, but, overall, it's not what it should be for a city that has multiple franchises in it.
Sure. South Florida used to be really, really good. Like, once Levitard got national and Sedano went to ESPN, once ESPN grabbed a lot of our guys, it's okay. Like, it's okay now somewhat, but
But that's a crime. I mean, like, you literally have teams in every sport, and that's the best you can do? That's some trash, right? You should be angry about this, Ernest Christian.
Well, there's a lot of shit going on here in South Florida with some of the stations here in Miami, for example, that they're like, they took two of the stations, 790 and 560, combined it.
Oh, laid off a
botch. Yeah, laid off a bunch of people recently, too. There was an article that came out a couple of days ago I saw in the Miami Herald about, so where are these guys now? Since COVID, because when COVID hit, especially too, that exacerbated the situation with laying off guys. So there's an article about guys that, where are they now? It's like Antoine Staley could speak on this even more because a lot of those guys that got laid off, he's friends with.
Right.
And he would go on the radio show back in the day too.
And yet there's one guy who has no business having a job that works for a Miami Wire. And he's based out of Delaware, and he's just horrible at his job. But I digress.
He's in Miami. Wait, the writer or the radio guy?
We'll talk up. It's a writer.
Interesting.
We'll talk off.
I mean, unfortunately, that kind of stuff is almost everywhere. I mean, even I remember there used to be local stuff, small market stuff in my area, and then it morphed into like the Philly region, and now we just get national stuff around here. Which is stuff you can get anywhere on the internet. So why can't I have something local even here? But it's just non-existent. And then so the closest local sports radio that I can get is out of Philly, and I mean, so much of that stuff is just abhorrent.
Philly's
I have heard so much stuff from my writing mate at your network, Jim. Formerly known as Brandon Pemberton, but it's Bashir Pemberton. Yeah. He is on Twitter all the time putting Philly radio on blast. By the way, shouts to the premier Bashir. And hey, I don't blame him, man. He's got talent. These cats don't, and he's watching on the sideline.
Yeah, he put some of his guys on notice today with the Ben Simmons stuff. I saw that.
Hey, you know what? God bless him. I support him too.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's bad.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll talk about stuff. It's fine. No, the reason why we started this conversation because we talk about sports radio personalities. So we decided to say, you know what? Next podcast, filed for content, of course. We're going to discuss. You like that, Kyle? You're another fan of filed for content?
No, I rolled my eyes because I'm still waiting for Ryan to own up to his crinkle fry bullshit.
You're still on that shit, bro. By the way, speaking of crinkle fries, Arby's crinkle fries are amazing. It's a record. Anyway,
I just had him again over the weekend on Saturday.
Damn right you did. You're an addict now until Ryan could cram it. Put me on record.
Right. So we decided to
invited on your show over some goddamn French fries. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. So we decided to go with this topic today with what are our personal favorite Mount Rushmore of sports radio hosts, personalities, or maybe so. Yeah. And this is something I'm really like passionate about, especially too, because I love media and all that.
Right. For me and the audience, I need criteria.
Okay. So, who wants to go first?
So I'm not getting criteria. He's like,
You don't need
criteria.
criteria. Just top 4. You don't need criteria, dude. You can bring you can say why. It's no criteria. It's what you think and why.
How did you formulate your list, Kyle?
Just defend your opinion.
Well, no, I mean, like, are we talking sports only people? Like, is this something, or are we including podcasters? Are they people that only have?
It can be podcasters too, because podcasters had a long sample enough to say.
Listen, man, that's such a big sample size. I don't know all of them, and you're asking for a Mount Rushmore. This is you up there with, I want a Mount Rushmore of sitcoms. Man, you're out your fucking gore.
That's the next podcast. That's next podcast. I get more time to prepare for that one.
Dude, we finally finished Family Matters. Boy, you weren't kidding. And those last couple of seasons,
I told you.
God, so silly.
I told you. I warned your ass, man.
My God.
No, there was.
I had $1 for every time Steve said he couldn't do the transformation chamber because it's too dangerous to the world, and then still did it with him and Bruce Lee and turned himself into, which would not fly today. Myrtle Urkel would not fly today. Mm-hmm. But my God, that show got silly. And then like you got a new Harriet with the last 7 episodes for no reason whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And no more Judy. That bitch just up and disappeared.
She was gone for season 2.
Mm-hmm. As a side note, can we all agree that Laura Winslow is a very high maintenance woman?
She's a
terrible. We established that she was very unlikable in that show.
Oh my God. She got a little better in like the last season, but man, she was a terrible person. Team Myra all the way.
But hey, at the end of the day, Jim's happy that he knows how to do the Urkel. Everybody,
the Urkel. Anyway, Mount Rushmore, sports radio hosts, podcasters, what do you want to call it?
So you're gonna make me lead this off.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Let's Jim go first.
Go ahead.
No.
So here are my 4 guys. Obviously, Dan Le Batard is my favorite all time. Obviously.
At least it's not Ben Simmons anymore.
Bill Simmons? Or Ben Simmons?
Or Bill Simmons.
Although Bill Simmons' son is named Ben, for the record.
Oh, great. Don't worry. He'll be one soon just because of his name, just like Collinsworth's son. Right. God. Anyways.
Oh, God. Don't
Chris Sims.
Get me started on Jack Collinsworth. Good.
Jack Collinsworth is even worse than Chris Sims.
Is he really?
I never heard Chris Sims has the credibility of having been an NFL player.
That's true. Colin Cowherd, obviously.
Damn right.
Love his podcast. Love not just the Herd, but also his podcast for his network. Really good stuff. Why did I write this down? Forgot. Oh, Jim Rome.
You got to put Rome.
That guy made sports radio an art form. When you listen to him talk, especially today, it's like he's performing for you, not literally just talking. He's literally performing his work.
Rack him.
Like he's like, like he has a rhythm to what he says.
That's great.
Yeah. It's phenomenal.
That's phenomenal. Well done, EJ.
Yeah.
Great job.
Yeah.
Terrible. It's what I want to see. Mad TV missed the boat on this shit. They should have had Frank Caliendo as Gruden, and then Jim Rome just spend like a good 30 seconds going, that was great. Oh, this guy, man, he tries really hard. He's wonderful. Rack him. They could just go back and forth. I would lose my shit.
Right. And I mentioned him earlier in the podcast, Scott Farrell. He's an original. No one sounds like him. He brought the heavy metal. His show back in the day, too, especially, he would play Metallica and all this heavy stuff in breaks. Because remember, he was on 2 a.m. on the East Coast. And I'd be awake. Sometimes I'd be awake, and I'd have him, like, talking like, he love Metallica side to side. It was great. It's fucking fantastic. He was such an original. And he's still around today, He was on CBS recently, and then I guess either they fired him or he left. I don't know. But Scott Farrell, what I said, Scott Farrell, Cowherd, Le Batard, and Jimmy Rummy.
So Farrell makes you happy, is what you're saying.
Pharrell's is an original. Pharrell's is different.
Right into the microphone. Got him.
Yeah. God damn.
I didn't get that. It went over my head probably.
Well, hey, if you grew some hair, you might have been able to snack it.
No.
Anyways.
Or my 2 bangs.
No, that's Ricky Martin.
Outside, inside out.
No, she bangs. Hello.
Oh, yeah, she bang. No, that William Hung now.
Game up. Damn it, EJ.
I know.
Yeah, that song belongs to William Hung, like Hurt belongs to Johnny Cash.
You're also correct.
That's true. Who was next? Want to go? Go ahead.
Oh, I'll knock it out. And like the way I do this, a lot of these are cats that kind of shape what I try to do as a performer / personality, right? And for me, at the top of the list is Colin Cowherd. It is that way. It always has been that way. I don't know what it is, but I always had a tendency to do the wild analogies, and that is Cowherd's bread and butter. And like, and I know for a fact that there's certain things that I watch it. I know I'm totally channeling Cowherd. Like I did, excuse me, back before I left the network you're on, Jim. I was doing a show with Shaq Krosky still, or Fax Krosky as we started to call him. And it was this was late enough to where I would have been doing a bit of a monologuing because I was getting sick of people, griping about the UCF national championship thing, and they keep calling it a claim. Hell, 4 years later, they're still, you claimed the national championship. Look, bitches, check the book, okay? Because people would all ask me how I feel about it. I'm like, listen, it's a great PR move. I don't think it makes necessarily football sense, but it's in the book. Stop griping about it, okay? But when I watch that, I would even, when he opens his show, he has a little something he says, and thanks for making us part of your day. He doesn't do it anymore, but he used to at ESPN, right? And
actually, he still does now. Actually,
does he?
Yeah,
maybe he does. I don't get to watch the beginning of his show because life.
You use the podcast.
I typically catch the bits on YouTube or listen during lunch.
Yeah, I do the same thing too. He has that like edited 45-minute version of down to 3 hours that I like a lot. But then you have clips also on YouTube as well too that I like.
Which, side note, best upgrade in the world. I don't even choose to remember this chick's name because she was so bad. For Joy Taylor, I'm just saying. And no, I don't.
Oh, you think about Christy?
She's smart.
Christy, what her name is? I'll get in a second.
Leahy.
There we go.
You
didn't like her?
You suck. What?
So no, real quick. What Leahy? She took a while growing me. I did like her, but Joy's way better. And not only that, Joy's from here, Miami. So I've known Joy for a long time.
Oh, good for you. The one that I knew throughout her entire career was, I forget her name now. She wrote for the Sentinel and then went off on her. Jamel Hill.
Jamel Hill.
I never liked her sports opinions. Is the problem. So, but she has found her niche, and God bless her for it. And I dig it. She's not one of my Mount Rushmores for sure, but like as for following a female personality out of where they were based out of, I was throwing my 2 cents. I don't know why. Anyways, next on the list, I never really ventured into the jungle all that often as I would like, but you got to put Rome here on general principle. Like, the shape and impact he had, no question, so many iterations of his show have happened too. Like he's gone on and off of TV. He actually had a show that I could watch without falling asleep on a premium channel. You know what I'm talking about, EJ. And
Romy.
and pretty solid there. The next guy on the list is somebody else I actually kind of baked into elements of my presentation style, but he never really hit nationally, or if he did, it's not for any period of time. It's Eric Kuselius.
Yeah,
I like him a lot. I like a lot. He made a lot of appearances, especially on ESPN on First Take, and he'll be like a guest, or he'll be like a stand-in for Skip or Stephen A. or whatever. He was fantastic at that. Actually, I actually did like him a lot.
And then he broke off and started doing radio, and he would be on here regularly in Orlando, and I think he might have been on in South Florida for a while too.
Where's he now?
I don't know, but he's not here. I think he got himself in a lot of hot. And actually, our good friend Brandon Howard would be a regular guest on his show too, to talk Dolphins back then, predating my time at the Wire in question. But then I think he started to get himself in trouble a little bit because he would start monologuing about the Kaepernick kneeling thing a bit. And while his take was well-intentioned, I think it rubbed the wrong people the wrong way, is what I'll say. So that may have been, I'm speculating, obviously, that may have been what kind of removed him from that particular spotlight. I think he's on somewhere still, but it's not in Florida.
Last I checked, he's on Golf Channel.
Yes. Well, he actually started there. He may have just gone back. I mean, that's also possible, right?
Check it now.
Then lastly, to round it out, and just because his format was so unique, I'll go ahead and go with it. And there may be somebody who comes up later and is all like, you know, why didn't you mention this guy? I should.
Bill Simmons, of course. Now, come on, Bill Simmons.
I'm sure for a fact that I'm going to get a text from G. Stelia. Why am I not on there?
Yeah, I missed that fucker.
So much. But I would have to probably put Jay Moore because he was the one that got me starting to use, because he used a lot of sound effects, and listening to his show kind of got me to adopt things to do into it. So like, you know, every time we would talk about a trap game, you would hear Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. You know, that started to get baked into the Student of the Game podcast back when that was a thing, which should tell you how far back I'm going. Just for reference, ladies and gentlemen, the Student of the Game show actually retired 4 months ago, 5 years ago. So,
do you miss it?
I'll answer that question off air.
By the way, real quick, Jim, figure yours. If I were to replace someone on my list, Bomani Jones would be the other person I would.
Bomani Jones is amazing. Yeah.
And by the way, I've been a fan of his way before he was even into the sports arena. That's why. But to me, he's more just a sports personality. He's not just a radio guy. He's also a great writer. You know,
I think of him as a TV guy first because that's how I got met to him, and I know him better as a writer because he does more than that.
I knew him. Yeah. I knew him doing music.
No, but Bomani Jones is great, man. I got no beef at all.
So he might be the other person in that four. I got the four. So, all right, Big Jim, go ahead. You have time to think about it.
For me, mine's been written down for an hour and a half. Mine, number 4, because I'll start at the bottom and work to the top, is Steve.
Professional.
Steve Zabe used to be on. He was on Fox Sports National for a little while. He's Maryland, Virginia, DC guy, and now he's on locally there. And I think there was one, I want to say Madden 03 or 04 or something like that, when they would incorporate some like sports radio sound bits in there. I feel like
they had Tony Bruno at one point.
Okay, yeah, Tony Bruno is one. I feel like Zabe may have been on one of the years, but anyway, just he's kind of no nonsense. He's very opinionated, which is obviously a great thing when it comes to sports radio. And I don't know, he just kind of clicked with me because when I was in college and when I was first out of college, I really got ingrained in sports radio, and I think he was one of the guys national at that time. My number 3 is a guy that we may not have any of this if it wasn't for. I remember listening to him driving around with my dad when I was a kid, is Papa Joe Chevalier. And I will distinctly remember Wednesdays when they had call in and kind of like listener rants, and they were Bite Me Wednesdays, which I fucking love the idea. Like if I was on a daily, show of any kind, I would have something like that where people could call in and gripe about things, which is always a classic. But I love the name. I was 8 to 10 years old, and you hear the words "bite me" every week. It's always pretty good. He's in some ways considered kind of like the godfather of what has become national sports radio. And I mean, I'm here in central Pennsylvania. His show is from Vegas, syndicated nationwide. So. My number 2, Jim Rome, for all the reasons here listed above. I mean, and again, when you're 17 to 21 years old and you're getting into sports radio big time, it gets no better than Jim Rome. And then my number one is a guy that, I mean, I grew up with him on Sports Center every morning before school, and he continues to do it. I think he's one of the better interviewers in the business. I know some people aren't the biggest fan of his Danettes, or at least some of the Danettes, but to me, Dan Patrick, he's probably, me getting into the Dan Patrick show is probably the reason I started podcasting.
Yeah, Dan Patrick is my guy, like Bomani Jones is for EJ, to switch him in. And I've kind of, I'd hate to put it this way, but he's got kind of stale. That's the only reason why he's not my top 5. Like, I still kind of feel like it's the same thing.
I can see that. It's and I think because he has a lot of regular guests.
Yes.
So it becomes almost a cruise control at times. But
I mean, it's the cushy job for him, right? Like, it's his basement. Dude has a damn basket, a half court set up, and with a golf simulator. Of course, it's the mail it in show.
Exactly,
you know?
And the Traeger grill set up outside. It's I mean, if anybody wants to pay me to have half the setup he has, you can literally tell me what to say for 5 days a week, and I'll gladly do it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jim.
The most notable thing about this whole thing we all agree on is Jim Rome is fucking incredible. We all have Jim Rome.
I was going to comment, like, Jim Rome is the Bill Murray of this group. Like, nobody will say that he's the best, but everybody's going to say that he's great.
Right. Yeah.
You know? Oh, no. I'm willing to say he's the best that he does. If you look at it as an art form, because, by the way, the Mount Rushmore is not in order. It's just my top 4. It's not necessarily in order. But Jim Rome might be the best of how to do it as an art form. No one sounds like him. Everybody that does it is copying him in that same way.
I don't think Cowherd is similar to him, for example.
No, I don't think so either. Cowherd has his own lane also too. I'm saying Jim Rome, literally the way he even translate what he's saying. It's like an art form.
It's a culture tied to it too. I mean, the jungle is a thing, ladies and gentlemen. I follow that 100%.
Yeah.
You know. By the way, another reason why you should be grateful for Colin Cowherd, EJ.
Jim Rome, on podcast. Pete.
Nice. Another reason you should be grateful for Colin Cowherd, EJ.
Why?
You know, enjoying him helped me appreciate dealing people with Tom Brady bias.
You're welcome.
No, you're welcome, bitch. I'm Maui. What can I say except you're welcome?
Put on your
glasses
because
it's The Rock.
Put on your glasses, 7'5". All right, that's our podcast tonight. Plug away, guys.
Jim, go ahead. You're the celebrity.
Oh, well, thank you.
Should be last, though, that's the case?
What's that? Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. I'll go first. Yeah. You're the celebrity. Right. Of course I am.
I can take it first. I'm not...
There's probably a joke in there somewhere, but be the celebrity and wait your turn. Anyways.
And by the way, talking about sound bites and sound effects on the shows, this motherfucker to my right screen here, Jim Nies, is the fucking king of that shit on 3 Count Thursday.
That's why I think you appreciate Jay more. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying, wrestling, but the wrestling drops he drops too, especially is the best.
But
I've got the trigger finger, that's for sure.
Is it only you? Is it only you? Does it, or is it okay?
Oh, it's all me. It's all
what
me.
the hell is a producer?
Exactly. Look, if we had a producer, I'd almost have to pretend to try to pay somebody, and I'm just not about that life.
By the way, the William Regal War Games is slowly coming up my favorite now too.
Oh my God.
You got it? You have it right now? You have it?
It's Tim's reaction to the clip.
Do you have it?
I can get it in a second.
And here we go.
Let's see, get it.
Hold on, I gotta open up Chrome on my my second computer here. But Kyle, go ahead and plug, and then I'll hit it.
By the way, it sounds like something I hear a lot in my social life. Anyways, of course, I'm Kyle Nash, student of the game. You can find me on Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on the same on Instagram, the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. I actually got to do media things this past Saturday. I went to the Orlando Predators game where they hosted their first game in a significant period of time, and it was the Albany Empire, a franchise I had not previously heard of, but very, very, very fun outing all the way around. And of course, my work with Danny Thompson on Beyond the Buzzer, on the Beyond the Buzzer Facebook page. If you have to have it as a podcast, you can always go to the page and then listen to just the sound and put your phone down. Then, of course, you have Hilarity by Default, the podcast I do with Demosthenes Euclid, enabling such hilarity, such as EJ flicking off the camera because he can't handle the truth. Colonel Nathan R. Jessup called. He says he agrees. Look for that with more regularity. Lately, we have been doing over and above, doing a recording a Harrison 4 month and various other required viewings. We're also doing another TV show deep dive like we did with Briscoe County Jr. with the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Yes, I know, it's Demos. It's going to be Indiana Jones, for Christ's sake. Anyways, of course, to mention oldschool101.com as the group that gets me involved with the Predators. I also have the 3-point conversion that I'm there along with my man, Danny Thompson. Also mentioned the General Mike Patton earlier. And, of course, the man that runs it all, Controversy, Raphael Hayes. By the way, Danny Thompson, 2-time champion of the 3-point conversion battlegrounds.
He's
you
winning.
guys may not care, but that's a big deal.
I saw that. He won. He won.
He dominated in the finals. The guy couldn't compete with him. And which is funny because by default, that means I should have been a champion because Thompson can't compete with me. Anyways. You're going to clip that and send that to him just to talk smack.
Yep, I'm already working on it now. Dropbox. Let's go.
Anyways, check out Beyond the Buzzer as well. Thursday night at 9 on the Beyond the Buzzer Facebook page. I mentioned that earlier. And that is all the good stuff I'm working on. When I do write something, it'll be on the3pointconversion.com. That's the number 3. It being out of season for college football, I have not written anything since the draft, but you know, whatever, dude. I don't care about baseball. Anyways, I tried to tell Philly they should have traded Joel Embiid 2 years ago. I'm just saying. Anyways.
Yeah, he ain't the problem. It's Ben Simmons. Ooh.
So that's what the public would have you believe, but you know, at least Ben Simmons is on the floor uninjured.
True, but
can't help the club in the tub, gentlemen. Listen, it's not that I dislike Joel Embiid. I like big men that can play the ball well in the NBA, but you know.
Yeah. All right, Big Jim.
He's like, I gotta follow that shit. Good thing I'm a celebrity.
It's a laundry list.
For EJ.
Go ahead. Plug away, Big Jim.
All right. 3 Count Thursday, every Thursday night, 8 o'clock, facebook.com/3 Count Thursday. All of these are on all podcast platforms. I challenge you to find a podcatcher that my shows are not on. That's and if you find one, I'll simply make sure that it gets on there because that's what I do. Huddle Up podcast. We're still kind of in off-season mode. I was going to record something last week, and then life took over. But we will be back in the probably a month and a half or so as we get closer to football season. So look for that. Discussions with a Nobody, same thing. Was going to get something in the can last week, so you can subscribe to that. You can follow me at Big Jim Sports, and those are the shows. But yeah, 3 Count Thursday.
No, you should follow him at Big Jim Sports. If you're not following him, get a hold of your damn life and follow him. He's a celebrity for a reason. His Twitter follow's amazing. Step up your game, America. Please continue, Jim.
Says the guy with 4 bangs.
Very.
Here comes Fat Dean Kane, man. I want to beat you up here.
Very good. But yeah, those are the shows: 3 Count Thursday, Huddle Up podcast, and discussions with a Nobody. Appreciate the follows. I always say, if you listen to our show, if you enjoy it, share it with one person, and ask them to do the same.
Just one you asking to?
I mean, you can feel free to do it to more, but just one person say, I think you might like this. Check it out. Easiest way to start spreading the word.
When's the War Games? Yeah, we up now. The soundbite.
Didn't you hear it?
No. They come through at all.
I'm sitting here hitting sound bites and they're not coming through.
Skype is tricky sometimes with that. I've had that problem too.
Well, I've hit it a few times, so I've been able to hear it.
Yeah, but we won't because
I'll tell you what.
That's
if
something
you
we
want to
struggle
hear
with on
it,
dinner time.
if you want to hear it, listen to 3 Count Thursday. Go
Boom.
tune in.
You will hear
Boom.
it plenty on 3 Count Thursday. That's for sure.
Last
Boom.
week we did. We did last week. Say that much.
Darn
Then
right.
listen to the
Jesus.
latest episode if you want to hear the War Games. How about that? Boom.
Wrestling.
There you
That's
go.
right. Fellas, that was great.
Yep.
As always, we'll do it again.